Welcome to Wisdom Before Sleep. I'm glad you're here tonight. This video is designed to be a gentle companion on your journey toward healing and renewal. In the description below, you'll find timestamps that guide you to different chapters of recovery. Feel free to explore them in any order you like. Each section can stand alone, so you can follow whichever part of the story speaks to you most in this moment. Choosing to step away from alcohol is one of the most powerful gifts you can give your future self. With every day of sobriety, your body repairs, your mind strengthens, and your life opens to possibilities that once felt out of reach. You deserve to know just how much is happening beneath the surface, how deeply your cells, your organs, and your spirit are rooting for you. So let your breathing slow, settle into a comfortable space, and allow these next few minutes to be a reminder that hope is here and healing is already unfolding inside you. Number 1. A new beginning. How the body slowly comes back to life when alcohol leaves. The physiology of hope. As you settle in and allow the day to soften around you, let us gently explore something remarkable that happens inside the human body, something that begins the very moment a person decides to stop drinking alcohol. From the outside, quitting may seem like a simple choice, a glass not poured, a habit paused, a quiet promise whispered to oneself. But inside the body, that decision sets in motion one of the most profound biological transformations a human can experience. Alcohol is often tied to celebration, comfort, and connection. It's seen as a drink that brings people together. Yet scientifically, alcohol behaves very differently than its friendly image suggests. When it enters the body, it doesn't stay politely in the stomach. It flows into the bloodstream, reaches the brain, the liver, the heart, and even the smallest corners of our DNA. It depresses the central nervous system, disrupts hormones that guide our emotions and energy, and acts as a toxin that nearly every organ must struggle to manage. So when the flow of alcohol suddenly stops, the body doesn't simply relax, it awakens. Within minutes, the last drops of alcohol are still being metabolized, broken down by the liver into substances the body must urgently clear away. Even as this happens, tiny signals ripple outward. The nervous system rearranging itself, the digestive system releasing tension, blood vessels adjusting to a world no longer clouded with alcohol's chemistry. It is as though the entire body takes a cautious but hopeful breath. And in the hours and days that follow, changes begin to unfold everywhere at once. Toxins that once lingered in cells are flushed away. Hydration, once constantly undermined, starts to return to every tissue. The brain, no longer pushed into imbalance, begins the careful task of rebalancing neurotransmitters like GABA, dopamine, and serotonin, the chemical foundation for calmness, motivation, and joy. This is the physiology of hope. It is not imagined, it is not placebo, it is real, measurable healing. Within just a few days, many people notice clearer thinking, like fog lifting after a long storm. They may wake feeling sharper or more rested, even if sleep is still uncertain. The heart begins to beat more steadily. The immune system, once overwhelmed and sluggish, strengthens its guard once again, ready to protect rather than struggle. Each of these small improvements is a message. Your body is coming back to life. Even the challenges, the cravings, the restlessness, the emotional waves hold hidden meaning. They reveal that the brain is rewriting itself, removing the shortcuts alcohol once created, and restoring natural balance. Every tremor, every anxious thought is proof that repair is underway. Inside the liver, a quiet miracle unfolds. Cells that had grown swollen with fat and inflammation begin to recover. The liver shifts from desperate detoxification to the work it was always meant to do, nourishing the bloodstream, balancing hormones, creating energy. Blood sugar stabilizes, reducing the dramatic highs and lows that once shaped a drinker's day. Soon, stress begins to loosen its grip. Levels of cortisol, the body's alarm bell, start to fall. People often describe feeling more grounded, more capable of handling life's challenges without panic or irritability. It becomes easier to breathe through emotions rather than drown them. The changes are not random. They follow a trajectory, predictable, tested, and deeply encouraging. Science sees it clearly. Early withdrawal gives way to physical stabilization. Then over the coming months, long-term neurological and emotional growth begin. Even after years or decades of drinking, the human body still remembers how to heal. It has an astonishing ability to repair, to regrow, and to restore. Liver cells regenerate. White matter in the brain remyelinates. The gut seals itself and silences inflammation that once spread through the bloodstream. Telomeres, the protective caps on our chromosomes, slow their aging. Resilience is not lost. It only waits. And with each day of sobriety, hope becomes easier to feel. There is a growing sense of possibility, of mornings that feel brighter, connections that feel deeper, and life that feels more authentic. You begin to understand what well-being can truly mean. What starts as a physical recovery becomes an emotional one. You begin to trust yourself, to believe in the strength returning to you. Each sober day makes the next one slightly easier, and every small victory adds motivation for the next. Healing creates momentum. As you lie here tonight, you might imagine tiny lights within you, cells working tirelessly, organs reorganizing, neurons rewiring, a quiet orchestra tuning itself back to harmony after years of dissonance. The journey is not always smooth, but it is always forward. It is always healing. It is always hope. So if someone is only at the beginning, whether the count is 1 hour or 1 week, the most important truth is this. Right now, at this very moment, the body is regaining its balance. The brain is reclaiming its clarity. Life is returning in waves of repair. Sobriety is not just the absence of alcohol. It is the ongoing creation of a healthier, longer, more peaceful life. A transformation that begins quietly inside and soon radiates outward into everything you feel, think, and become. Tonight, allow yourself to rest with this knowledge. Every second without alcohol is a second your body chooses healing. Every minute is rebuilding. Every hour is a step into a future full of strength and clarity. You are not waiting to get better someday. You are getting better right now. One gentle breath, one calm heartbeat at a time.
Number 2. The first 72 hours. When the brain reclaims its balance. The GABA-glutamate dynamic.
As we continue this quiet journey of healing,
Let us pause and look closely at what unfolds inside the remarkable human brain during the very first days without alcohol. It is a time often filled with intense sensations, a storm of emotions and physical changes that can feel unsettling. Yet behind every tremor or restless night lies something powerful. The brain is trying to heal. To understand the experience of these first 72 hours, we must first understand how deeply alcohol has shaped the brain's chemistry over time. Alcohol does not simply soothe or relax. It reaches into the core of the nervous system and alters the balance between two essential chemical messengers, one that calms and one that excites. The calming messenger is GABA. You may imagine it as a gentle braking system in the brain, slowing racing thoughts, easing tension, helping us sleep. The exciting messenger is glutamate, the accelerator, keeping us alert, helping us learn, stimulating action. In a healthy brain, these two forces work together in harmony, like day and night, like inhaling and exhaling. But alcohol presses too hard on the brakes, forcing GABA to flood the system. It smothers glutamate's activity, slowing the world down while creating an artificial quiet. And because the brain is designed to survive, it tries to adapt. It learns to function under the influence of alcohol, and then depends on that influence. Over months or years of drinking, GABA receptors disappear, leaving fewer natural breaks. Glutamate receptors multiply, pushing the accelerator harder and harder. It is the brain's attempt to stay awake inside a chemically muted world. Then one day, alcohol is gone. The braking system is weak. The accelerator is still pressed to the floor. This is where the turbulence begins. The first hours, the body notices the change. Around 6 to 12 hours after the last drink, alcohol fully leaves the bloodstream. But the brain remains rewired for a world where alcohol still exists. Neurons begin to fire too quickly, a sudden and unfiltered surge of electricity. The hands may tremble, the heart may race. A person may lie awake, staring into the dark, wishing their thoughts would slow down. Even mild withdrawal, shaking fingers, a knot of worry, sweating that seems to come from nowhere, is the sound of the brain's chemistry trying to return to normal. This is not psychological weakness. It is physiology. It is repair beginning. The second day, the storm reaches its height. From 12 to 24 hours, the senses sharpen. Light feels brighter, sound feels louder. For people who have relied heavily on alcohol, the brain may misinterpret this heightened activity and create illusions, fleeting shadows, a whisper misunderstood for a voice, textures that seem to move. The world may feel too intense. The sympathetic nervous system, our inner alarm, becomes activated without any threat. The heart pounds. Breathing can feel shallow. Anxiety may pour in, not from fear of life, but from the chemistry of neurons struggling to find harmony. During the window from 24 to 48 hours, glutamate remains overwhelming. In the most severe situations, especially for those with long histories of drinking, seizures may appear. This is why medical support is crucial for many. Hospitals can offer medications that temporarily replace alcohol's calming effect on GABA, preventing the brain from tipping into danger. But even for those facing only milder withdrawal, this phase can feel like a battle between body and mind. Yet beneath the discomfort, the brain is learning how to turn its brakes back on. The third day, The first signs of peace. Between 48 and 72 hours, something shifts. Receptors begin to reset. GABA's influence grows stronger again. Glutamate's volume is slowly turned down. The storm of hyperactivity starts to calm. For many, this becomes the first moment where the future feels real. The heart settles more easily into a steady rhythm. The hands grow steadier. Thinking becomes a little clearer. It may come in waves, a few hours of calm, followed by another swell of restlessness, but the overall direction is unmistakable. The brain is remembering how to function without alcohol. A silent foundation for the months to come. While GABA and glutamate take the lead in early withdrawal, they are not alone in healing. Dopamine, the chemical of joy and motivation, begins to restore its normal cycles. Serotonin, the chemical of emotional balance, slowly rises. Endorphins, the body's natural soothing compounds, begin visiting again. Every hour free of alcohol allows these systems to rebuild sensitivity that had been lost. Emotional numbness slowly dissolves. Interest and motivation flicker back to life. Sleep, though fragile at first, eventually deepens and restores. These improvements are the unseen progress, the kind only science can measure, until eventually a person begins to feel the difference themselves. By the end of the first week, many describe a subtle but present shift, a moment of laughter feeling genuine again, a morning that begins with clarity instead of fog, a feeling of possibility beginning to surface. This is the brain saying, "Thank you for giving me the chance to heal." Why this hard phase matters? It is easy to misinterpret withdrawal as suffering that serves no purpose. But the truth is the opposite. Every tremor is a nerve regaining self-control. Every rapid heartbeat is the body reclaiming proper rhythm. Every restless night is the brain reshaping its balance. Every wave of anxiety is receptor networks being rebuilt. Even cravings, as uncomfortable as they are, signal that neural pathways once shaped by alcohol are weakening, making space for healthier ones to form. The discomfort doesn't mean something is wrong. It means everything is slowly being made right again. A reassurance for the soul. So, if someone is living through those first 72 hours, or supporting someone who is, they should know this. These days are temporary. The storm has a schedule. Relief is already on its way. This is the moment when healing truly begins. This is the price of freedom and the proof of recovery. The brain is one of the most adaptable structures in the universe. Even after years of alcohol use, it chooses renewal. Again and again and again. And tonight, as you drift into rest, you can hold on to a simple truth. In the first 3 days of sobriety, the brain is not failing. It is fighting for you. It is learning to protect you. It is remembering how to give you peace, a peace that will soon last longer than any short escape a bottle ever promised. 1 hour at a time, your balance is returning. Your mind is coming home.
Number 3. The first week of renewal. How the liver and metabolism awaken again.
As the brain gradually settles from the chaos of withdrawal, the rest of the body quietly steps into its own extraordinary phase of healing. We now reach the days just after the 72-hour mark, the moment when the storm begins to calm and the rebuilding truly begins. This is not yet the peaceful stretch of long-term recovery, but it is the dawn, a time when the body finally gets to breathe again. Deep inside the right upper side of the abdomen, the liver has been waiting for this moment. For so long, it has devoted nearly all of its energy to processing alcohol, a substance it treats as poison every time it enters the bloodstream. With every drink, the liver halts most of its usual work, so it can urgently break down ethanol and then acetaldehyde, both harmful, both exhausting. But now, without that daily burden, the liver can turn its attention back to healing the entire body. Within the first few days of sobriety, metabolism begins a slow but hopeful transformation. When alcohol was present, the liver had little time to burn fats or regulate blood sugar properly. It was locked in a perpetual defense mode, like a firefighter forced to watch a house rather than build new homes. Now that blockade is lifted, the liver returns to its natural rhythm, breaking down stored fat, helping glucose flow steadily into the bloodstream, supporting every cell that depends on energy to function. For many people, this internal shift produces changes they can feel. The fog of constant toxin processing begins to lift. Hunger signals become more predictable. The body no longer swings from high to low blood sugar, leaving behind those shaky moments, those sudden cravings, those afternoons when energy collapsed unexpectedly. Instead, energy gradually stabilizes, like a river finally clearing after sediment has settled. People often describe this first week as the moment they start feeling human again. There may still be emotional waves or scattered nights, yet something beneath the surface feels steadier. When blood sugar no longer crashes unpredictably, the mind feels calmer. Irritability softens. Mood swings become less sharp. A person begins to trust their own emotions again, knowing they are not being forcefully driven by chemical chaos. Even the outside of the body begins to show hints of recovery. Alcohol suppresses a hormone called vasopressin, a tiny messenger that helps the body hold on to water when needed. Without it, alcohol forced the kidneys to send too much liquid away, leaving the body constantly dehydrated. Skin became dry. Headaches lingered. The body compensated by holding on to water where it could, often swelling the face, the fingers, and the soft places below the eyes. But now vasopressin returns to its proper rhythm. The kidneys regain control. They no longer panic and grab water desperately. Instead, they release what is extra and keep what the body truly needs. Bloating retreats. Skin looks more vibrant. Headaches fade. Even something as simple as waking up with a fresher face can become a quiet source of joy. With water and nutrients flowing properly again, the liver continues its restoration. Fat deposits that had crept into its tissue begin to recede. Liver enzymes, once elevated as a cry for help, start returning to normal. And with this regained strength, the liver helps the rest of the body detoxify more efficiently than it has in years. Every part of the system seems to say, "Thank you. Let me show you what I can do." By the end of the first week, measurable improvements often appear in medical tests. Insulin becomes more effective at its job. The risk of developing diabetes begins to drop. Even small decisions like choosing a piece of fruit or a warm bowl of soup now nourish the body more completely. Food becomes fuel again, not just a companion for alcohol. These internal changes create subtle but meaningful feelings in everyday life. You may notice that late morning slump disappearing. Perhaps there is more interest in moving your body, a gentle walk, a stretch, a reminder that your muscles are part of your healing story too. Sleep may still be uneven, but the body wakes with more genuine strength behind every breath. Such improvements are not dramatic. They do not shout. They whisper. Look how far we've already come. And this whisper, growing slowly, becomes motivation. It becomes a reason to continue. Because the body is no longer wasting its energy fighting alcohol's effects. It is investing that energy in your future. The first week of sobriety unveils something beautiful. The body does not hold grudges. Even after years of strain, it welcomes healing the moment the harm is gone. This shift in metabolism, from survival back to balance, forms the foundation for everything that will come next. A clearer mind, a calmer heart, a stronger immune system, a brighter skin tone, a more peaceful relationship with food and energy. Metabolic repair is the quiet engine of long-term recovery. It gives you strength to feel the world again, not through numbness, but through clarity. So as you close your eyes tonight, you might imagine your liver tirelessly filtering, rebuilding, guiding the chemistry of life back into harmony. You might feel grateful for the steady pulse of glucose nourishing the brain. You might notice that your body is already lighter, inside and out. This week is only the beginning, but it is a beginning full of promise. Your body is learning how to thrive again. One balanced heartbeat, one nourished cell, one peaceful day at a time.
Number 4. The healing conversation between the gut and the mind. How the intestines restore calm in the first weeks. As the first week of sobriety passes and the body continues its gentle transformation, a profound shift begins to take place in a part of us we often forget to appreciate: the gut. Quiet and unassuming, it works tirelessly every moment of our lives, helping us absorb nutrients, regulate our immune function, and even shape our emotions. Yet, alcohol, with its disruptive and corrosive presence, places tremendous burden on this delicate ecosystem. When a person decides to stop drinking, the gut is among the very first systems to respond with relief. Healing here begins rapidly, often within days, and as the gut begins to recover, something unexpectedly beautiful happens. The mind begins to feel lighter too, because the gut and the brain are not distant strangers. They are partners connected through a powerful biological conversation known as the gut-brain axis. For people who have been drinking regularly, this connection is deeply strained. Alcohol weakens the protective barrier lining the intestines, the thin but vital wall that decides what is allowed to enter the bloodstream and what must remain outside. When this barrier breaks down, tiny openings form between the cells. gaps that scientists call leaky gut. Through these spaces, unwanted visitors slip through, bacteria, toxins, and fragments of substances that the body never meant to circulate freely. They travel from the gut into the bloodstream, heading first to the liver, which then must fight an endless battle against inflammation. In early sobriety, this battle slows and then begins to subside. The intestinal lining is one of the fastest renewing surfaces in the entire body. New cells take the place of damaged ones every few days, and with alcohol removed, the proteins that hold these cells tightly together, zonulin, occludin, and others, begin to rebuild their structure. Like tiny workers repairing a fortress wall stone by stone, the gut seals itself again. With this repair, the constant leak of inflammation finally fades. The liver pauses its defensive stance and turns inward, focusing on healing itself. The bloodstream carries fewer irritants, which means the body's alarm systems, those that trigger swelling, fatigue, headaches, and aching muscles, slowly quiet down. People often describe this feeling as a kind of inner peace, physically settling over them. The body no longer feels like it is fighting a hidden war. But the transformation of the gut goes even deeper. In the long, winding corridors of the intestines lives a teeming universe, the microbiome. Billions upon billions of tiny organisms that help us digest food, create vitamins, and even shape how we feel emotions. These microbes produce molecules that travel through the gut-brain axis, signals that the nervous system listens to closely. Alcohol disrupts this community. It kills off beneficial species, the ones that help us produce calming neurotransmitters and support immune function. At the same time, it encourages the growth of harmful bacteria that thrive in inflammatory environments, species that release chemicals that can worsen anxiety, cravings, and depressive thoughts. Yet, once alcohol is removed, the balance slowly returns. By the third or fourth week of sobriety, the microbiome begins shifting toward a healthier composition. Helpful bacteria, those that produce butyrate, an essential fuel for the gut lining, multiply again. Nutrient absorption improves. Digestion becomes more consistent. Foods that once caused discomfort start to feel nourishing instead of irritating. As the gut's internal ecosystem regains its diversity, something soothing happens on a chemical level. A large portion of the body's serotonin, the neurotransmitter responsible for well-being and emotional balance, is produced in the gut, not the brain. GABA, the calming messenger that reduces anxiety, is also influenced here. When healthier bacteria flourish, these transmitters are created more effectively, and the nervous system feels the difference. People in early recovery begin to notice moments of calm that arrive without the artificial stillness that alcohol once provided. Anxiety softens. The emotional swings of early withdrawal start to stabilize. There is less irritability, less chaos in the mind. A person may find themselves smiling at something simple, a warm meal, a pleasant conversation, a moment of sunlight, and realize that the feeling is grounded and real, because the gut is healing, and the brain, listening carefully, is healing too. Nourishment now reaches areas of the body that were starved before. Skin receives the hydration and nutrients it needs to glow again.
Muscles get the proteins required to regain strength. Vitamins once poorly absorbed, B vitamins, magnesium, zinc, begin to play their roles in energy production and immune resilience. Digestion no longer feels like a burden, but a quiet support. Every ordinary meal becomes part of the recovery story, a chance for the gut to rebuild itself and for the mind to grow steadier. People often report fewer stomach upsets, clearer mornings, less bloating, and a newfound appreciation for how good food truly makes them feel. The simple experience of comfort after eating becomes emotional reassurance. My body is working with me again. As inflammation drops, sleep gradually deepens. The immune system strengthens. The heart receives cleaner signals from its environment. And the brain, relieved of inflammatory noise, regains sharper focus and more peaceful thought patterns. All of this emerges from a place inside the body that many never think about at all: the long, winding, quiet world of the gut. So tonight, as you imagine your healing taking place, you might picture the gut not as an anonymous organ, but as a guardian, one that suffered silently through years of irritation, yet now responds with incredible resilience the moment alcohol disappears. You might think of tiny junctions, sealing like doors, protecting a sacred space. You might envision beneficial bacteria returning home like an old community rebuilding after a long disruption. You might feel gratitude for a part of you that supports both your physical strength and your emotional peace. Sobriety restores not only the mind or the liver, but the very core of how the body nourishes itself and how the brain understands the world. The gut-brain axis reminds us of something profound. Healing in the body becomes healing in the soul. And with each day free from alcohol, that healing grows, quietly, steadily, beautifully, deep inside, where hope is built molecule by molecule, until it finally rises to the surface as peace.
Number 5. When the heart finally relaxes. How the cardiovascular system finds calm in the first month. As the body moves further along its healing path, now into the first month of sobriety, an extraordinary shift begins to unfold in one of the most vital systems of all, the heart and the network of vessels that carry life through us. For so long, alcohol has acted like a quiet but persistent stressor. With each drink, the heart had to beat a little faster, blood vessels tightened just a little more, and pressure inside the arteries crept upward. Even when a person seemed outwardly calm, alcohol was pushing their cardiovascular system into a state of alertness, like a car revving too high while sitting still. But now, without alcohol, the heart finally has permission to rest. Deep within the body, the sympathetic nervous system, the driver of the fight or flight response, gradually steps back. Stress hormones, once elevated after every drink, begin to fade from the bloodstream. Blood vessels relax, widening gently, allowing blood to flow more freely. The strain on the heart eases, and with that easing comes a wave of profound relief. This process doesn't shout its arrival. It comes quietly. Sometimes a person simply realizes that their pulse isn't pounding as much during the day. Climbing stairs feels easier. Breath flows more smoothly. Even moments of stress seem a little less intense. The heart no longer leaps so quickly into panic. Medical studies show something remarkable. In as little as 2 to 4 weeks, blood pressure often drops into a healthier range. The vascular system, arteries, veins, and capillaries, experiences what researchers call decompression. It is as though the entire cardiovascular system exhales after years of holding tension. Inside the walls of every blood vessel are cells responsible for maintaining flow and balance. They produce nitric oxide, a natural chemical that tells vessels when to relax, like a gentle voice encouraging calm. Alcohol interferes with this voice, making vessels stiff and less responsive. When alcohol is removed, the inner lining of the vessels, the endothelium, slowly begins to recover its ability to speak clearly again. Nitric oxide production improves. The vessels regain their flexibility. The river of blood within us begins to glide rather than push. And with that renewed flexibility comes safety, a lower risk of stroke, a reduced burden on the heart, a future protected from the silent dangers of hypertension. But the healing goes even deeper. The rhythm of the heart, the subtle variation between each beat, tells a story about the nervous system. When a person is stressed, afraid, or chemically overstimulated by alcohol, the heart falls into a rigid rhythm with little flexibility. Scientists measure this through something called heart rate variability, or HRV. A low HRV often means the heart is working under strain, unable to adapt smoothly to the world. With sobriety, HRV begins to shift. Not instantly, not perfectly, but steadily. As the parasympathetic nervous system wakes up again, the heart becomes more adaptable, more resilient. It learns to respond to stress gently instead of dramatically. Over the months that follow, HRV climbs. The heart becomes a strong and balanced partner to the mind, no longer controlled by chemical tension. Many people notice small changes that reflect this deeper repair. Sleep becomes less disrupted by racing pulses. Waking up feels steadier. During a stressful moment, the heart doesn't pound wildly. Instead, it slows down faster once the moment passes. Exercise feels kinder. Breath becomes a calmer anchor. And then there is the heart muscle itself. For some who have lived with long-term heavy drinking, alcohol can weaken the heart, making each beat less effective. A condition known as alcoholic cardiomyopathy. It sounds frightening, but the heart is resilient. It too remembers how to grow strong again. When the toxic effects of alcohol are removed, heart muscle fibers begin to regain strength and coordination. Pumping efficiency improves. Fatigue lessens. In many cases, if the damage has not gone too far, the heart experiences a partial or even full recovery. Quietly, silently, the heart repairs itself. Sobriety gives the cardiovascular system a grace it hasn't felt in years. It allows the heart to beat, not under pressure, but in peace. It protects the vessels that carry life forward. It lays down the foundation for decades of improved health, stronger circulation, a calmer nervous system, and a future less threatened by heart disease. And perhaps most beautifully, this healing is not something you must work for. It happens because you have simply chosen to stop drinking. You gave your heart room to rest, and it is thanking you. So as you drift into sleep tonight, you might imagine that steady beat within your chest, a rhythm of renewal. Every pulse tells a story. I am recovering. I am stabilizing. I am finding my way back to balance. The heart does not rush this transformation.
It takes its time, one beat after another. But each beat now is a step toward a healthier, calmer tomorrow. A tomorrow that your heart, stronger every day, will help you reach.
Number 6. When rest returns. How the brain rebuilds the architecture of sleep. As this journey of healing continues, we arrive at one of the most intimate and transformative arenas of recovery, the quiet hours of the night. Sleep is where the brain repairs itself, where memories settle into their places, and where emotions soften into understanding. And yet, in early sobriety, sleep can feel both fragile and restless. But beneath those first difficult nights, the story unfolding is one of profound renewal. For a long time, alcohol has acted as a counterfeit sedative. Many rely on it to drift off faster at the end of a stressful day, or to silence thoughts that feel too loud. It can seem, for a moment, like alcohol is helping sleep, but the science tells a different story. Alcohol may push the eyelids shut quickly, but once a person falls asleep, it begins to disrupt the deepest and most restorative stages of rest. It cuts into the brain's ability to dream, to process emotions, and to build long-term memories. It breaks apart the rhythm of sleep, turning nights into scattered fragments rather than smooth cycles. And it suppresses the beautiful, vivid stage known as REM, rapid eye movement, where the mind explores, heals, and integrates. When the drinking stops, the brain finally has a chance to make up for what was lost. This recovery, though deeply beneficial, is not always comfortable. Suddenly, the nights are full again, full of imagery, full of feelings, full of unfinished stories rising to the surface. This is called REM rebound, the brain reclaiming the dreams it was denied. It is common during the first few weeks without alcohol to experience intense and sometimes startling dreams. Some people describe them as surreal or cinematic. Others find that the dreams have a sharp emotional edge, as if fears or memories they pushed away are being reevaluated in the dark. Nightmares may appear not as a sign of harm, but as a sign of deep repair. The brain is processing again. The brain is healing, and with this healing comes movement toward balance. In the first week or two, falling asleep may take longer than before. The nervous system, still learning to relax without chemical assistance, can feel too alert. There may be tossing and turning. There may be moments of waking suddenly, the mind not yet used to peaceful rest. But as the days and weeks pass, a shift occurs. Slow-wave sleep, the deep, nourishing stage where the brain restores energy and the body repairs tissues, begins to strengthen. REM cycles stretch longer. The sequence of each sleep stage begins to resemble the natural architecture that existed before alcohol altered it. Melatonin, the hormone that whispers to the brain that night has arrived, begins to rise and fall in its proper rhythm again. Circadian patterns, once flattened by alcohol's disruptive influence, start to regain their natural curve. Bedtime begins to feel like a descent into calm, rather than a negotiation with anxiety. And with these changes, mornings transform too. Waking becomes gentler. Energy emerges more naturally. The head feels clearer. The day begins with strength rather than exhaustion. Sleep, for many months, keeps improving gradually. By 3 to 6 months of sobriety, studies show that sleep architecture, the careful balance between deep sleep and REM, often returns to the healthy patterns seen in people who never drank heavily at all. It takes time, yes,
But every night in sobriety is a step closer to full restoration. And even on nights when sleep is not yet perfect, something important is happening. The brain is learning to soothe itself again. It is reclaiming the ability to calm down at night without artificial help. It is relearning how to hold dreams, how to integrate experiences, how to build resilience through rest. Every dream is a message. I am processing what once overwhelmed me. I am clearing emotional pathways once blocked by alcohol. I am becoming whole again. So if sleep feels challenging at first, it is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that the brain is working hard. For you. For many people, the moment of realization comes quietly. Perhaps after a month of sobriety, they open their eyes one morning and notice something different. They feel awake. They feel restored. They feel as though their mind has been properly cleaned and reorganized overnight. They feel rested, truly rested, in a way they have not felt in years. Because the brain has finally been given permission to rest deeply, to rebuild memories, to soothe emotions, to craft peace. So as you settle into stillness tonight, you might place a hand over your chest and notice the gentle rhythm of your breathing. Each inhale and exhale invites your nervous system to soften. Each moment in the dark reminds your body that it is allowed to heal. Tonight, as your eyes close, know this. Your sleep may not have been peaceful for a long time, but it is returning to you, night after night, cycle after cycle, dream after dream. And soon, you will discover a kind of rest that leaves you not only asleep, but renewed.
Number 7. The brain reclaims itself. How gray matter and white matter slowly grow strong again. As the weeks of sobriety unfold, something extraordinary begins to happen in the quiet spaces of the mind. The brain, once shaped and strained by alcohol, starts to rebuild. It is perhaps one of the most inspiring truths in recovery science. The brain is not frozen in its past. It is a living structure, constantly adapting, constantly renewing, constantly searching for a healthier way to be. For those who have spent years feeling like their thinking became slow, or that memories slipped away too easily, or that emotions felt difficult to manage, the discovery of the brain's ability to repair itself brings a sense of hope that feels almost like a second chance. Chronic alcohol use wears down the brain physically. It causes the outer layers, the gray matter, where millions of neurons help us think, focus, plan, and make good decisions, to shrink in size. It also thins areas that help us with movement, balance, and coordination. These changes often feel like a fog settling over daily life. Thoughts arriving slower than they once did, decisions feeling heavier, attention becoming scattered. But once alcohol is removed, the fog does not deepen, it lifts. Within the first month of sobriety, brain scans show that these gray matter regions begin gaining volume again. Neurons, relieved of the constant chemical stress, strengthen their architecture. The frontal lobes, responsible for impulse control, reasoning, and emotional balance, slowly regain their shape. The cerebellum, guiding movement and procedural learning, rebuilds its networks. And with every week of healing, the improvements become more noticeable. Conversations feel easier to follow. Concentration sharpens. Problem-solving comes faster. This is not an illusion. It is physical regrowth, visible on MRI images, measurable in cognitive tests, and felt in lived experience. Deep inside the brain lies another system that alcohol affects profoundly: the white matter, the long bundles of nerve fibers that connect different regions together. These fibers are wrapped in myelin, a protective sheath that allows lightning-fast communication. When alcohol damages this insulation, signals slow down. Thoughts lag. Coordination stumbles. Learning becomes harder. And yet the moment alcohol disappears, the healing response begins there too. Over time, the brain can restore this myelin, the connections between left and right hemispheres, bridging creativity with logic, emotion with language, become smoother again. The result is a brain that communicates more clearly with itself, allowing ideas to travel freely and efficiently once more. Many people describe this change as getting my old self back, a return to clarity they feared was gone forever. There is another part of the brain that quietly celebrates recovery: the hippocampus. This small, curved structure is essential for forming memories and navigating the world. Alcohol slows its ability to grow new neurons, leaving memory feeling patchy or unreliable. Then sobriety arrives, and the hippocampus wakes up. New neurons begin to form, tiny sparks of potential contributing to everything new the mind wants to learn. This process supports not only sharp thinking, but emotional growth. The ability to form new habits, trust new relationships, and build a future not shaped by the past. And perhaps most meaningful of all, the reward center of the brain, the system guided by dopamine, begins its slow journey back to balance. During heavy drinking, dopamine receptors become dulled and unresponsive. Natural joys lose their color. Laughter feels muted. Accomplishments seem hollow. Pleasure becomes harder and harder to feel without alcohol's chemical push. Sobriety is the chance to restore this capacity for joy. Over 3 to 6 months, dopamine receptors gradually return in number and sensitivity. Hobbies begin to feel rewarding again. Music brings back emotional warmth. Connection with friends and family brings genuine comfort. Life's simple pleasures, a peaceful morning, a kind conversation, a meal that tastes wonderful, start to register fully in a way that requires no substance at all. The most profound healing of all is that the brain learns how to trust itself again. Impulse control improves. Emotional storms become easier to calm. Thoughts no longer run ahead into anxious places or fall behind into regret. The mind grows steadier, more grounded, more capable. Recovery shows us that every day without alcohol is a day the brain uses to rebuild something powerful: confidence, flexibility, memory, identity. Sobriety does not merely preserve what was left, it rebuilds what was lost. So, as you rest tonight, imagine tiny changes happening in silence, neurons strengthening their branches, protective layers weaving back into place, fresh cells forming where old ones once struggled. Picture your brain reconnecting pathways that make life feel richer and more manageable. You are not simply abstaining from alcohol. You are actively restoring the architecture of your mind. And with every passing week, the brain becomes more itself again, resilient, intelligent, emotionally present, ready to guide a healthier and more hopeful future. Healing the brain is not a quick transformation, but it is a beautiful one. A transformation that continues quietly, month after month,
until one day you realize the person you hoped to become is the person you already are. Awakening.
Number 8. The liver's quiet miracle. How sobriety reverses fatty liver and softens old scars. As recovery continues and alcohol remains absent, one of the most remarkable stories of healing unfolds deep within the body, in the liver, the silent guardian that filters every drop of blood we have. For years, perhaps without you ever noticing, the liver has worked tirelessly. It has taken toxic molecules like acetaldehyde, a harsh byproduct of alcohol metabolism, and converted them into safer forms your body could eliminate. It has regulated blood sugar when drinking disrupted appetite. It has stored vitamins and sent out energy when your tissues called for help. Even when overwhelmed by alcohol's constant demands, it never stopped trying to protect you. But alcohol forced the liver to make difficult sacrifices. When the liver was busy clearing alcohol, it often had to put its most important duties on hold. Instead of burning fats for fuel or maintaining balance in the bloodstream, it had to prioritize survival. And as a result, fat droplets built up inside liver cells, slowly, quietly, causing what is known as alcoholic fatty liver disease. This condition affects nearly everyone who drinks heavily. Many never know it is there. Yet night after night, year after year, the liver has struggled beneath that hidden burden. Then one day, the alcohol stops, and the liver, almost immediately, begins to repair. Within just 2 weeks of abstinence, something extraordinary happens. The fat stored inside liver cells begins to disappear. The liver mobilizes those triglycerides, turning them back into usable energy or sending them away for good. What once slowed the liver's function now becomes fuel for rebuilding. With each sober week that passes, blood tests often begin to show quiet improvement. Enzymes such as AST and ALT, which leak into the blood when liver cells are damaged, start to fall toward normal levels. These numbers are like whispers from inside the body, saying, "Thank you, I am healing." Another enzyme, GGT, one that rises specifically in response to alcohol exposure, takes longer to settle, but with continued abstinence, it too gradually returns to a healthier range. These changes are not theoretical, they are measurable proof that the liver is regaining its strength. The transformation becomes visible on the outside as well. People often notice that their skin looks clearer. There is less puffiness in the face and around the eyes. Energy levels rise as the liver becomes more efficient at clearing waste and regulating metabolism. Even digestion feels more comfortable. Meals are processed with ease instead of heaviness. But the liver has an even more impressive skill. If alcohol has caused deeper damage, inflammation that led to scar tissue, the liver does not simply accept its fate. It tries to undo the harm. Fibrosis, the early stage of scarring, can often be reversed completely when alcohol is removed. The liver begins breaking down old collagen fibers and restoring healthy, functional tissue in their place. It's like a careful gardener removing the dead branches so that strong new growth can flourish. Even in more advanced cases, when cirrhosis has begun, stopping alcohol remains the most powerful decision a person can make. Scar tissue may not disappear entirely, but the liver becomes better at managing what remains. Healthy cells take on greater roles, keeping the body stable and extending both years and quality of life.
One of the most uplifting discoveries in modern medicine is that the liver does not hesitate when given the chance to recover. It regenerates rapidly, far faster than most other organs. Even when heavily strained, it responds with determination the very moment alcohol disappears from the bloodstream. Every new day of sobriety allows it to rebuild more of itself. Every night of rest helps it pull toxins away from vital areas. Every healthy meal becomes a building block for renewed strength. The liver is proof that the body wants to heal. And you do not need to feel this healing to know it is happening. The liver works silently, without asking for attention. But its impact is felt across the whole body. Clearer thinking, steadier mood, brighter skin, better appetite, and a growing sense of vitality that rises quietly day after day. You do not have to look at your liver to know it is recovering. Your returning energy, your improved digestion, your lightness of being are the signs that its miracle is underway. So tonight, as you rest, imagine this incredible organ working gently beneath your ribs, filtering, rebuilding, regenerating, performing one of nature's most hopeful acts. Sobriety is rarely easy, but the liver's response reminds us that every alcohol-free day is a gift the body immediately uses for healing. By choosing recovery, you have given your liver a chance to restore its strength, and it is already saying yes. Yes to renewal, yes to resilience, yes to a healthier future unfolding quietly inside you, one regenerative moment at a time.
Number 9. When hormones find harmony again. The gentle rebalancing of stress and sexual health during sobriety. As alcohol fades from daily life, the body begins to rediscover an elegant internal rhythm, a biological music that has been quieted for too long. Deep within the brain, in tiny command centers that never sleep, hormones rise and fall like tides, carrying messages that shape mood, energy, desire, and even how safe and grounded we feel. Alcohol disrupts this communication. It pushes chemistry out of balance, often in ways that only become noticeable over many months or years. But when drinking stops, the endocrine system, the network of hormones that guides so much of our inner world, begins to awaken, recalibrate, and rebuild its natural harmony. And this transformation is both scientific and deeply human. The reawakening of sexual hormones. In people who drink, alcohol interferes with the communication between the brain and the reproductive organs. For men, it slows testosterone production in the testes and encourages the conversion of testosterone into estrogen. It is a quiet shift, but one that can affect confidence, intimacy, and self-esteem. Low libido, difficulty achieving or maintaining erections, and sometimes the swelling of breast tissue. These are signals that hormones have been pushed off their intended path. But when drinking stops, the brain begins to send stronger signals again. Within just a few weeks, testosterone levels start to rise. Within months, many aspects of sexual function improve noticeably. Desire strengthens, energy returns, and confidence, both physical and emotional, begins to flourish again. Sperm quality and motility, vital for fertility, also show measurable improvement within about 3 months. The body remembers how to support life and vitality once the chemical interference is removed. In women, the story is different but equally meaningful. Alcohol often raises estrogen levels, which can disrupt menstrual cycles, trigger irregular periods, and increase symptoms like cramping or mood swings. High estrogen over long periods can also raise breast cancer risk, a hidden danger alcohol quietly amplifies. Sobriety gives the reproductive system a chance to breathe. Cycles gradually settle into their natural rhythm again, often within 1 to 3 months. Ovulation becomes more predictable. Fertility improves, and many people describe feeling more in tune with their body, more steady, more balanced. It is a return to hormonal clarity, an internal calm that supports connection, intimacy, and self-love. The stress hormone finds peace. One of the hormones most affected by alcohol is cortisol, the fuel of our stress response. Too much cortisol for too long can make life feel tense, overwhelming, and exhausting, even without obvious cause. Alcohol artificially lifts cortisol levels, both during drinking and long after. The body becomes wired and tired at the same time, agitated yet drained. In early withdrawal, cortisol often rises sharply. This is why the first week can feel restless, anxious, or emotionally raw. But this surge is temporary. The body is adjusting, recalibrating the dials. With continued sobriety, the stress system begins to soften. The brain gradually relearns when to produce cortisol and when to let us relax. Across the first few months, baseline cortisol levels fall toward healthy ranges again. The sharp edges of stress begin to soften. Breathing becomes a little easier. Worries feel a little lighter. The heart responds more gently to pressure, and calm becomes easier to reach, even in moments that once felt overwhelming. Imagine a sea slowly settling after a storm, the waves no longer crashing, but rolling in smooth, gentle rhythms again. Hormones as messengers of renewal. With alcohol gone, the body does not simply avoid damage, it restores meaningfully. Mood stabilizes as cortisol follows its natural day-night cycle again. Metabolism becomes more efficient, reducing stubborn weight gain. Energy rises as hormones fuel the brain and muscles properly. Desire returns, bringing joy and closeness back into relationships. Sleep deepens, strengthening every other area of healing. Self-confidence grows as comfort within one's own body increases. These changes may unfold quietly, but week by week, month by month, they reveal a deeper truth. The body wants to heal. It is designed for balance, and every alcohol-free day gives it a chance to remember that balance again. A new kind of ease. If alcohol ever feels slow, if some mornings feel more difficult than you hoped, remember this. Inside you, entire systems are reawakening. Hormones are learning how to speak again, clearly, calmly, kindly. You may not feel every shift as it happens, but the harmony is returning. Your biology is rooting for you. Your brain and body are working quietly in the dark, so that your days can feel brighter, your nights more restful, and your future more connected to life's natural joy. Tonight, as you drift into sleep, let it comfort you to know your hormones are healing, your stress is softening, your capacity for love, energy, and peace are being restored from the inside out.
Number 10. A metabolic metamorphosis.
how the body learns to burn energy wisely again. When a person stops drinking, one of the most gentle yet remarkable transformations unfolds deep inside the cells. It is a quiet shift. There is no sudden burst of fireworks. Yet it changes how the body gathers, stores, and uses energy every hour of the day. It is as if a hidden switch flips, and for the first time in a long while, metabolism begins to work with the body again, rather than against it. Alcohol holds an unusual place in human biology. It brings no essential nutrients. It does not build tissue or support healing. Yet it arrives packed with calories, 7 per gram, nearly as dense as fat itself. When drinking stops, all of those excess calories are suddenly gone, and the body breathes out a sigh of relief. But even more meaningful than the calories is the freedom that comes next, the freedom for metabolism to find its natural rhythm again. The weight that quietly begins to lift. Long-term drinkers often notice that their bodies hold on to extra weight, sometimes without eating any more than before. Alcohol is one reason why. It halts fat burning in the liver and demands to be metabolized first, like a loud guest insisting on immediate attention. Fat is set aside, tucked away into storage, especially around the abdomen. But once alcohol leaves the picture, the liver can finally return to its normal priorities. Fat oxidation, the burning of stored fat, begins again. Even if no other lifestyle changes are made, this shift alone can support gentle, steady weight loss. Someone who previously drank just 2 to 3 glasses of wine per evening can remove thousands of calories each week by not drinking at all. Over time, that translates into a visible, tangible change. Clothes fitting more comfortably, movement feeling easier, the body feeling lighter, more agile, more at peace. And it happens quietly, day by day, without forcing or punishing the body. Weight loss becomes a natural side effect of healing. A friendlier relationship with blood sugar. Perhaps the most important metabolic improvement comes from a very different place: the way the body responds to insulin. Alcohol often causes blood sugar to swing dramatically, too high after sugary drinks, too low once the liver's ability to release glucose is impaired. These swings leave many drinkers feeling shaky, tired, irritable, or overwhelmingly hungry for more sugar, more energy, more alcohol. With sobriety, this roller coaster finally slows down. Within weeks, sometimes within days, insulin sensitivity improves significantly. Cells begin to welcome glucose again, bringing fuel where it is needed. Energy feels more consistent, emotions steadier. The future risk of type 2 diabetes drops as stability returns. The body spends far less time in emergency mode and far more time simply working with ease. Mealtime becomes a quieter experience, one without sudden crashes or cravings. Hunger signals become more reliable, more truthful. The lipids of life begin to shift. Deep inside the bloodstream, another change unfolds. Triglycerides, the fats often elevated by alcohol, begin to drop. Cholesterol profiles, LDL, HDL, the balance between them, often shift toward healthier patterns. These microscopic adjustments have a very real effect. The heart works less anxiously, blood vessels relax, and the risks that once grew silently in the background begin to shrink. Sobriety helps protect the heart not by adding something new, but by removing something that never belonged. A calm, efficient body, a calm, renewed mind. Good metabolism does not just change the scale or blood tests, it changes how life feels. Energy is no longer borrowed from tomorrow. It rises naturally with the sun and gently fades with the night. A long walk becomes easier. Climbing stairs feels less like a chore and more like another moment of strength. The brain receives a steadier flow of nourishment, improving mood and focus.
Little by little, the body remembers that health is its default state, a transformation you earn every night of rest. This metabolic improvement doesn't ask for perfection. It doesn't demand extreme diets or punishing exercise. It only asks for consistency. A day without drinking, then another, and another. Each sober day allows metabolism to settle into a smoother, more graceful rhythm. And in that calm, the body quietly rebuilds its trust in itself. Tonight, as you prepare for rest, know that deep inside you, millions of cells are celebrating your choice. They are learning to burn energy more wisely. They are remembering balance. They are healing. Your body is not just surviving without alcohol. It is thriving because of your strength to let it go.
Number 11. Healing from the outside in. How your skin, eyes, and smile find renewal in sobriety. As the days and weeks pass without alcohol, recovery becomes something you can not only feel, but also see. It appears in the mirror, in the softness of your skin, in the brightness of your eyes, and even in the comfort of a natural smile. These changes, though gentle at first, are reminders that the body never forgets how to heal. It simply waits for the chance. Tonight, let us slowly explore how the beauty we show to the world, our skin, our gaze, and our oral health, begins a quiet transformation once alcohol is no longer standing in the way. In the realm of the skin, renewal begins with something simple: balance returning. Alcohol has a way of robbing the body of moisture and important nutrients. It dilates tiny blood vessels near the surface, causing redness, especially around the cheeks and nose. Over time, it interferes with vitamins like A and C, the very building blocks that keep collagen strong and the complexion bright. But when a person chooses sobriety, this story gradually changes. Within just a month, hydration begins to improve. That lingering grayish tone, so common after years of overexposure to toxins, starts to fade. The skin slowly remembers how to glow. Microcirculation becomes stronger, and the redness that once felt permanent, storms of irritation, softens into a calm warmth. Collagen production stabilizes, which means elasticity returns. Fine lines feel less sharp, and the texture of the skin becomes smoother beneath the fingertips. Some even notice that conditions once aggravated by drinking, like rosacea or psoriasis, lighten in intensity.
And what a comforting thing it is to look in the mirror and see your face becoming more you again. Even hair and nails quietly celebrate the change. With nutrients finally able to nourish them properly, they become stronger, shiny strands replacing brittle ones, and nails growing without splitting. These tiny signs speak softly but confidently: healing is underway. Our eyes, too, tell a story. Alcohol can place immense stress on vision. Through the years, dry eyes, blurred colors, and bloodshot irritation become familiar companions. In more serious cases, the optic nerve itself can suffer, making the world look dimmer than it truly is. But the eyes, so deeply connected to overall health, are wonderfully resilient. As alcohol steps aside and B vitamins like B12 and folate are restored to normal levels, color becomes richer again. Blurriness eases, and those once persistent red veins gently relax, letting the whites of the eyes show their natural brightness. There is something profoundly encouraging about waking up one morning and seeing clearer eyes greet you, eyes that reflect vitality, calmness, and a renewed sense of self. And then there is the mouth, an often overlooked gateway to well-being. When alcohol dries the mouth, saliva disappears, and bacteria thrive. Gums grow inflamed, teeth weaken, and breath loses its freshness. Even taste changes, turning food into a duller experience than it should be. But recovery breathes life back into this essential space. Within weeks, saliva returns, like a gentle shield that protects teeth and washes away harmful microbes. Gum tissue begins to heal and bleed less often. The risk of serious conditions, including oral cancers, drops steadily. And food, one of life's simplest pleasures, becomes more flavorful and rewarding. Aromas feel sharper. Meals regain their richness. Some ex-drinkers describe it as rediscovering their senses one day at a time and realizing how much joy was muted before. All of these visible improvements, brighter skin, steadier eyes, a healthier smile, act as daily reminders of progress. They are not dramatic overnight changes, but quiet victories, noticed little by little, sometimes best appreciated in moments of stillness. Each passing week brings subtle proof that the body is not only surviving without alcohol, it is thriving. And so, as you rest tonight, allow yourself to feel comfort in this truth. Your body is rooting for you. Every cell is working toward renewal. And those small reflections in the mirror, the softness of the skin, the clarity of the gaze, the ease of a natural smile, they are not just cosmetic changes, they are signs of a deeper awakening. Healing from the outside in and from the inside out.
Number 12. A quiet reawakening in every cell. How sobriety helps slow aging at the genetic level. Deep within us, beneath the layers of skin, muscles, and all the organs that keep us alive, there is another world. It is the world of our cells, the microscopic communities that never stop working. Each cell carries precious strands of DNA, the blueprint of who we are. And it is here, at this remarkably small scale, that some of the most hopeful changes occur when we give our bodies a break from alcohol. Modern genetic research has shown that recovery does not stop at the surface. It reaches all the way into the invisible realm of chromosomes and chemical signals that quietly shape our health. In many ways, true rejuvenation begins at this deepest level.
Let's gently explore what happens inside the very architecture of life when someone chooses sobriety. One of the most fascinating parts of our DNA story involves telomeres. These are the tiny protective caps at the ends of chromosomes, like the tips of shoelaces that prevent them from fraying. Their length is strongly connected to biological age, not just the number of birthdays we have celebrated. As time passes, telomeres gradually shorten, and this shortening is one of the reasons our cells eventually stop dividing as efficiently as before. Alcohol, especially when consumed heavily or over many years, can make this process happen faster. Stress and inflammation rise. Cells struggle to keep up with repairs. Telomeres wear down at a quicker pace, creating an accelerated sense of aging at the cellular level. Yet when alcohol is removed from the picture, the body has a chance to breathe again. While science suggests that telomeres lost are not easily restored, there is heartening evidence that sobriety slows further decline. It is like pressing pause on a biological clock that once seemed to be ticking too fast. Every day of recovery becomes a day where cells age a little more gently. There is another layer to this transformation, one that feels almost like a secret language spoken by our DNA. It is called epigenetics. Throughout our genetic code, small chemical tags, particularly something known as DNA methylation, help determine which genes are active and which remain quiet. Certain genes help protect us from harm, repairing damage and controlling inflammation. Others, when activated too soon or too strongly, may accelerate disease and aging. Alcohol has a tendency to nudge this delicate balance in the wrong direction. Heavy drinking can alter these chemical patterns, switching off helpful genes and amplifying those linked to long-term health problems. Scientists measure these changes with tools known as epigenetic clocks, one of which goes by the name Grim Age. When alcohol is part of a person's daily life, these clocks often show that the body appears biologically older than its calendar age. But here is where hope shines through. Studies have found that sobriety can gently reverse these epigenetic shifts. Over months of abstinence, DNA methylation patterns begin to resemble a younger, healthier profile. Repair systems that once struggled to keep up find their rhythm again. Antioxidant defenses grow stronger. The body remembers its original instructions for resilience. What does all of this mean in everyday life? It may appear as subtle surges of energy, clearer thinking, or a sense that physical tasks become easier again. The heart and brain, which are among the most vulnerable to long-term alcohol exposure, benefit particularly from reduced oxidative stress and improved cellular repair. Over the years, these changes may reduce the risk of diseases linked to aging, helping people not only live longer, but live better. Perhaps the most comforting message from this new science is that DNA is not a fixed destiny. Even if alcohol has left its mark, the future remains unwritten. The cells beneath your skin are eager to rewrite their story, to preserve youthfulness, to heal the damage of yesterday, and to build a stronger tomorrow. As you settle into rest tonight, let yourself appreciate the quiet work happening inside you. Each moment of healing is a gift your body gives to itself, one cell at a time. In sobriety, the very core of who you are, your genes, your biological clock leans toward renewal. And while the changes may be invisible to the naked eye, they are profound, enduring, and deeply reassuring. Your cells are finding their way back to a healthier rhythm, and life, slowly and beautifully, begins again.
Number 13. Strength returning within. How the immune system awakens in sobriety. There is a remarkable intelligence inside the human body, one that watches over us every hour of our lives. Even while we sleep, it stands guard, ready to defend, ready to heal, ready to protect the body from harm. This guardian is the immune system. And when alcohol remains in our lives for too long, that guardian becomes tired, distracted, and overwhelmed. Its shield weakens, its vigilance fades. But when someone chooses to step away from alcohol, the immune system begins a quiet awakening, almost like a recovering warrior rediscovering strength. This is a change you may not immediately see in the mirror, yet its impact reaches every corner of the body. Tonight, let us gently explore how sobriety helps restore this essential protector. Alcohol affects the immune system on multiple levels. It interferes with the ability of white blood cells, especially neutrophils and macrophages, to move toward germs, cling to them, and ultimately engulf and destroy them. This means that even everyday bacteria and viruses can cause more trouble than they should. People who drink heavily often notice that they get sick easily. Frequent colds, lingering coughs, sinus infections that take longer to resolve, or minor illnesses that suddenly feel severe. But here is the comforting truth. The immune system does not give up easily. Just a few days after the last drink, those specialized cells start to recover their abilities. Within the first week, their movement becomes more organized again. Their communication improves, like a team hearing clear instructions after a long time of noise and confusion. By the time 1 month passes, the immune system's protective responses are far more robust. The body is once again prepared to defend itself against threats like pneumonia and seasonal viruses, which once found easy entry. Alongside this, another invisible yet powerful shift takes place within the gut. Alcohol disrupts the delicate barrier that lines the intestines, making them more permeable than they should be. Scientists sometimes call this a leaky gut. When that happens, toxins from naturally occurring gut bacteria escape into the bloodstream, and the immune system must stay constantly active to manage the irritation. Over time, this creates a state of chronic, low-grade inflammation, an invisible fire smoldering beneath the surface. Chronic inflammation is associated with a wide range of health concerns: heart disease, metabolic issues, certain cancers, and even long-lasting shifts in mood, such as depression. Because the inflammation never fully settles, the body struggles to heal optimally. Sobriety cools this internal fire. Within the first few weeks without alcohol, the gut slowly regains integrity. The bloodstream becomes clearer of these bacterial signals, and the immune system no longer sounds the alarm without reason. Markers that scientists use to measure inflammation, like C-reactive protein and interleukin-6, begin to drop. The body enters a state
where calm becomes possible again. And in that calm, healing blossoms. With inflammation declining, tissues can repair themselves more efficiently. Muscles and joints feel less sore. The heart beats with fewer obstacles in its way. Cuts, bruises, and scrapes, once slow to heal, close more quickly. More vitamin C becomes available for immune defense. Glutathione, the body's own antioxidant protector, rises back to healthier levels. Even vaccines, when received, can work more effectively because the immune cells that support them are stronger and more energetic. People often describe subtle but meaningful changes. Waking up without that familiar ache beneath the skin, realizing that a lingering cold disappeared sooner than expected, or noticing that a nagging infection finally resolved. These small victories accumulate slowly but surely, each reinforcing the message that the immune system is returning to full strength. There is also a psychological benefit woven into this transformation. Feeling healthier reduces stress and lifts emotional burdens. With fewer illnesses interrupting daily life, there is more space for joy, for routine, for connection. And that sense of renewed health can make sobriety feel not like a sacrifice, but a gift, a source of resilience. So as you prepare to rest tonight, take comfort in knowing that your body is quietly rebuilding its frontline defenses. Every sober day strengthens the invisible shield that has always cared for you. Every peaceful night gives your immune system another chance to restore its power. You are becoming more resilient, more protected, and more at ease within your own skin. The guardian inside you is standing tall again.
Number 14. A longer horizon. How sobriety softens the risk of serious disease and extends a healthier life. When someone decides to step away from alcohol, the benefits are not only felt in the moment or seen in the weeks that follow. There is also a gentle shift unfolding in the distance, a safer horizon forming far ahead, where the likelihood of life-threatening illness begins to decline. It is a quiet kind of protection, one that grows stronger year after year, adding future days and years that might otherwise have been lost. Alcohol, though familiar and widely accepted, has been classified by global health organizations as a Group 1 carcinogen. This means it has a clear and proven ability to contribute to cancer, placing it among the same category of risks as tobacco or asbestos. For those who once drank heavily or frequently, that truth can feel unsettling. But hope lies in the fact that the body is remarkably forgiving. When alcohol is no longer present, the risk it once carried does not stay frozen in place. Instead, it steadily begins to retreat. One of the most powerful examples of this renewal can be seen in esophageal cancer risk. For people who drink heavily, this risk rises sharply due to the way alcohol irritates the tissues of the throat and alters the cells that line it. Yet after quitting, this danger does not remain constant. It follows a pattern of exponential decline, meaning the biggest drop happens in the first few years of sobriety. Researchers estimate that it may take around 16 years for the risk to fully return to that of someone who has never drunk at all, but the early gains are substantial,
measurable, and deeply encouraging. Similarly, the liver, an organ that carries the weight of detoxifying every sip of alcohol, begins to heal once that burden is lifted. Chronic drinking can lead to cirrhosis, and cirrhosis can open the door to a type of cancer known as hepatocellular carcinoma. By preventing cirrhosis from progressing further, sobriety dramatically lowers the odds of that cancer taking shape. Instead of advancing toward irreversible damage, the liver shifts into a mode of repair, forming healthier cells where harm once spread. For women, there is also a meaningful change related to breast cancer. Alcohol has been shown to raise circulating estrogen levels, which can encourage the growth of certain types of breast tumors. But when drinking stops, estrogen begins to normalize. Over time, both the chance of recurrence in those who have faced breast cancer before and the chance of developing a first tumor becomes smaller. This transformation speaks gently but clearly. Even on the hormonal level, the body is eager to protect and restore. And beyond cancer, there are broader victories unfolding. Risks of heart disease and stroke, which often grow silently in the presence of alcohol, start to retreat as well. Within just 1 or 2 years of staying sober, the cardiovascular profile may resemble that of someone who drinks only lightly, or even reflect lower risk than that. The heart pumps more efficiently, blood vessels relax. The risk of sudden, life-altering events falls step by step. Across decades, these improvements accumulate like quiet deposits in a savings account of health. Former heavy drinkers and those who once felt the effects of alcohol deeply can see their overall mortality decline. They create a future with more steady breathing, more shared laughter, more movement without pain. They increase the likelihood that aging will come with strength and clarity rather than chronic illness or prolonged hospital stays. This journey is not about perfection. It is about progress, gentle, steady, reassuring progress. Each month sober nudges the body toward a safer place. Each year adds distance from the risks alcohol brings. And every renewed cell becomes part of a long-term promise that life can stretch farther than expected. As you rest tonight, allow yourself to feel comfort in knowing that the future is already becoming kinder. Sobriety is not just healing today's wounds, it is expanding the years ahead, carving room for more moments of joy, connection, and peace. The decision to stop drinking is one of the few choices in life that can truly rewrite the story of tomorrow. You are creating more tomorrows than you had before, and each one will arrive with a little more strength than the last.
Number 15. A Mind Coming Home. How Psychology Finds Balance After Sobriety. There is a moment in every healing journey when the body has already begun to recover, but the mind is still catching its breath. Sobriety is not only a physical transformation, it is also a gradual and deeply personal emotional rebirth. As the brain learns to live without alcohol, it must rebuild the delicate systems that regulate feelings, motivation, and joy. And just like the heart, lungs, and liver, the mind has its own rhythm of recovery, one that unfolds quietly, with patience, and with great promise. For many people, the early months after quitting alcohol bring a unique challenge known as post-acute withdrawal syndrome, often called pause. This phase can feel confusing or discouraging because it happens not in the first days of sobriety, but later,
sometimes when a person expects to be feeling better already. Irritability appears without warning. Anxiety lingers. Memory feels unreliable. Motivation dips and rises like unpredictable tides. It may seem like an emotional roller coaster that does not match the visible progress already happening in the body. But pause is not a sign of failure. It is not a step backward. Instead, it is a marker of growth. Deep within the brain, new connections are forming. Neurotransmitter systems that were dampened or overwhelmed by alcohol are recalibrating, waking up, and relearning their natural roles. The receptors that help us feel calm and pleasure, those involved in dopamine and serotonin, are strengthening again. The struggle is really reconstruction, and like any renovation, things can feel messy before they feel beautiful. Researchers have observed that these emotional fluctuations tend to peak somewhere around 3 to 6 months into sobriety. And then, slowly, gently, they begin to fade. The brain becomes steadier. Emotions stop pulling quite so hard in any one direction. The days feel smoother, and the nights feel more restful. Gradually, the mind finds its balance again. There is also another experience that many people encounter on this journey, the stage often called the pink cloud. It typically arrives in the second, third, or fourth week of sobriety, a breath of euphoria that seems to appear out of nowhere. During this time, people often wake up feeling lighter, happier, energized by a sense of new beginnings. It is as if the world has become clearer and the heart has rediscovered hope. This uplifting period is linked to a temporary surge in dopamine, the neurotransmitter that fuels motivation and pleasure. While it may last only briefly, fading as the brain continues its stabilization, the pink cloud serves as a gentle reminder of what is possible. It offers a glimpse of the natural joy that will, in time, return not as a fleeting high, but as a stable and reliable presence in daily life. As months pass, people often notice subtle but powerful shifts. Mornings become easier. Sleep feels refreshing rather than fitful. Ordinary moments, a cup of coffee, a walk outside, time shared with someone you love, hold more warmth and meaning. Surveys of those taking extended breaks from alcohol reflect this beautifully. Many report feeling more alert, less fatigued, and more mentally clear than they have in years. These are not just emotional impressions, they reflect real neurochemical balance returning, real calm taking root. There is also the quiet joy of regained control. When cravings appear and pass without victory over your choices, confidence grows. When difficult emotions are faced and handled without retreat, self-respect strengthens. What once felt impossible becomes a natural part of each day. The ability to cope, to feel, to recover, all without depending on alcohol to change the mood. By the time a full year of sobriety arrives, most people have traveled through the full emotional arc from uncertainty and withdrawal, to rebuilding, to a renewed psychological stability. The brain no longer needs alcohol to feel content. Pleasure and motivation rise not from a bottle, but from life itself again. So, as you let your eyes rest tonight, know that your mind is healing in ways that may not always be obvious, but are always meaningful. The emotional balance you are seeking is already on its way. Every calm moment, every laugh shared without alcohol, every peaceful breath, these are signs that the mind is finding its home again. You are becoming whole. You are learning to feel joy naturally. And the peace you are beginning to sense is not temporary. It is the new foundation of your life.
Conclusion. As we reach the end of this quiet exploration, one message becomes beautifully clear. The human body is designed to heal. It does not cling to damage or hold on to chaos forever. The moment alcohol leaves the picture, a remarkable shift begins, subtle at first, then stronger, like the slow brightening of morning light after a long night. Sobriety is not simply the absence of drinking. It is the presence of recovery. It unlocks a deeply coordinated healing response that spreads through every system of the body. The organs that once struggled find relief. The cells that were overwhelmed gained new energy. The entire body seems to exhale, grateful for the chance to restore what was lost. In the first hours without alcohol, something important begins. The bloodstream clears, the nerves reorganize, and the body starts to find its way back to balance. Over the next few days, inner chemistry adjusts. Blood sugar rises and falls more predictably. The body rehydrates. The liver, no longer pressed to detoxify harmful substances around the clock, shifts the way it produces and uses energy. A few weeks later, deeper renewal becomes visible. The intestinal lining strengthens, sealing gaps that once leaked inflammation into the bloodstream. Blood pressure softens into a healthier range. Fatty deposits in the liver begin to disappear. Some people describe a sudden lightness, a sense that the world feels just a bit more vivid. This is the stage where joy can return in sparks, a gentle signal of hope known affectionately as the pink cloud. As months pass, the recovery becomes structural. Hormones realign, helping with sleep, motivation, and mood. Insulin sensitivity improves, allowing the body to use food more efficiently rather than storing excess weight. The immune system stands taller, finally able to defend without constant strain. And in the brain, gray matter, once thinned by alcohol, begins to regrow. Neural pathways strengthen. Dopamine receptors, which help us feel pleasure and connection, awaken and flourish again. Moments of happiness feel less fragile and more earned. A sense of inner stability returns.
By the halfway point of the first year, breathing feels easier, thinking feels clearer, rest feels deeper. And then a bit later, around the 1-year mark, another transformation becomes noticeable. Bones become stronger as minerals are restored. The biological clock embedded in our DNA slows its pace. The long-term risk of several chronic illnesses, including cancer, continues to drop. Even years from now, this momentum carries forward, quietly offering more life, better life, than would have been possible otherwise. Through every step of this transformation, the body communicates what it needs. A trembling hand reflects a nervous system trying to rebalance.
A vivid dream reveals the brain stitching memories back together. A wave of tiredness is the cost of deeper healing underway beneath the surface. Every sensation has a purpose. Every challenge is part of rebuilding. And so, after a year of sobriety, a person stands not simply recovered, but renewed. They live inside a body that is structurally stronger, metabolically calmer, genetically more stable, and emotionally far more resilient. Their cells carry proof of their perseverance. Their organs reflect the courage of their choice. Their heart beats with the confidence of survival and the softness of hope. Sobriety is a renaissance, a rebirth of health, clarity, and peace. It is the body remembering how to take care of itself. It is the mind rediscovering calm. It is life expanding again, breath by gentle breath. As you close your eyes tonight, know this: healing is not a distant dream. It is already happening, quietly, faithfully, inside you. Every moment without alcohol is another moment your body uses to rebuild its strength, its beauty, and its future. You are healing on all levels, organ by organ, cell by cell, day by day. And with every sunrise, you are becoming more fully yourself again.